Hi everyone, welcome back to another off-the-cuff chat with me, FPL Mez. As you can see, my wildcard is active. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing with you my final Game Week 9 wildcard draft. Let's jump into it. So my original plan was to wildcard in Game Week 10, but that went to shits. I probably should have wildcarded in Game Week 8 when I started noticing that there were a lot of problems in my team. However, I managed to wait it out to Game Week 9. And I don't think that there is a perfect time to wildcard. And so for me, it was actually Game Week 9. I have to admit, it's the first time that I'm activating my wildcard during an international break. So I've just had loads of time to just go over, I don't know, maybe about 20 to 30 drafts that I made along the way. However, funny enough, the first draft that I made is kind of the draft that I have come back to as well. So a really interesting learning experience from that point of view. I did also, during the international break, have some downtime. It was just much needed, and I really hope that you guys have had some downtime too. I took the opportunity to look back at my Game Week 1 to Game Week 8 and do a bit of a retrospective, which I've put onto YouTube as well. I then brought on a guest in my last live stream that I had last week, where I was talking to my friend FPL Planner. And it was really good to get his perspective on wildcards and how you should approach wildcards. I'm only, 3 years into my FPL journey, and so there's only so many wildcards that I've played. So it was really nice to have a chat with FPL Planner and sort of lean on some of his experience as well. I'll link both of these videos at the end of this video. There's still plenty of time to check those out and learn from some of my past experiences over Game Week 1 and Game Week 8 if you wanted to do a retrospective of your own, but also the conversation that I had with FPL Planner, which I'm sure you'll learn plenty from as well, as I did. Anyway, let's jump into it. So if we start from the top, I decided to go with the Turner and Areola goalkeeper combination. West Ham have some fantastic fixtures coming up, and it just seems like it makes sense to bring in Areola as the first goalkeeper. I'm really happy with that move as well. I think I would have been thinking, if I didn't go Areola, I would have been thinking about bringing in one of the West Ham defenders into my team. However, given Areola's price point, it makes a lot of sense to bring him in. Turner is another very cheap goalkeeper that is starting, although we're not quite sure what's going to happen with the new goalkeeper that's come into Forest. So I think we just have to keep keep an eye out for any news that we hear around that one. But either way, having a 4 mil goalkeeper that is starting, and then having a 4.2 goalkeeper that is also starting as well, that has a really good run of fixtures coming in, just seems like a no-brainer to bring into the team. So there's not much more to talk about with those two. Now, I brought in Matty Cash a couple of game weeks ago. Really happy with that pick. Villa's got some fantastic fixtures coming up as well. Given Matty Cash is quite attacking as well, I'm really counting on some of his attacking returns. So fingers crossed we see plenty of those coming with the amazing fixture run that Villa have as well. Trippier was a player that I was toing and froing on whether I keep in the team or not keep in the team. Obviously, Trippier's price point is very high. It means that, I don't bring in a fifth midfielder or a third forward where they are anywhere between sort of, 6 mil and above, basically. And so it makes it very challenging from that point of view. But I decided to stick with Trippier in this scenario purely because I brought him in when he was 6.5 mil. He's gone up a couple of times over the past couple of game weeks, right up to, I believe he's about 6.9 million now as well. So, and given that they're playing, Newcastle is playing Palace next, and Palace have had some really, they've had some zonal weaknesses there with some of the crosses coming into the box. And as we know, Trippier is going to be, he's on set pieces, and so it makes a lot of sense to hold on to Trippier. In fact, I reckon Trippier could be a really good captaincy pick this game week as well. But we'll come back to some of the captaincy conversation a little bit later. Gabriel, I've actually had in my team from game week 1, so I didn't get the memo about Gabriel not starting, which was a real bummer because I heard about John Stones not starting, and so I managed to take him out and brought Walker into my team earlier on. However, as you can see, I've taken Walker out. Looking at this wildcard 9 draft. However, Gabriel I've kept in my team, and given that he's now 4.7 million, it makes a lot of sense to tap into that Arsenal defence as well. So I decided to keep hold of Gabriel in the team. Makes a lot of sense. It doesn't seem. I mean, I could have gone with a Saliba option potentially, or even a Ben White. But given Ben White's price point is a little bit higher, I just couldn't sort of justify spending that little bit more money, and so I decided to stick with Gabriel. Zinchenko is obviously another, Arsenal defender that is worthwhile bringing in as well. I'm not too sure what the rotation is going to be like there. I mean, fingers crossed that Gabriel sort of continues to start as well. So yeah, I'm gonna hold on to Gabriel for the time being. My fourth defender spot at the moment is Van de Ven, and this is mostly because Spurs still have some really good fixtures coming up, and I wanted to tap into Spurs' defence a little bit from that point of view. However, the other players that I have been thinking about in this position as well is Tsimikas, given Robbo is now out injured, I believe for at least 1 month, if not more. And so from that point of view, it would make sense to bring in Tsimikas. However, I'm not entirely sure how Liverpool are going to be lining up, especially if they invert and they have Joe Gomez, playing in that position as well. So yeah, there's a little bit to look out for with the pressers that will be coming up ahead of game week 9. However, Gahey was also another player that I had been thinking about. Palace have actually been pretty decent defensively in general. However, as you can see with having Newcastle coming up next, it wouldn't make sense for me to bring in Gahey at the moment. If I did, I'd probably end up benching him at least for the next couple of game weeks until some of those Palace fixtures turn as well. So for my fourth defender spot, I decided to go with Van de Ven. I tap into that Spurs defence, and with those couple of good fixtures they've got coming up as well, I could probably get away with playing Van de Ven in that position. Now, I had Salah in my team earlier on in the game, in the season, and I decided to take him out. I lost a little bit of patience there, rookie mistake on my part. But I was able to spread those funds as well. So I actually made a couple of gains here and there, but unfortunately I missed out on some of those consistent Salah returns. So Salah comes straight back into my team for game week 9. And look, it's a bit of a no-brainer bringing in Salah. Liverpool have got a really fantastic fixture run coming up as well. And so I'm really happy with having at least one Liverpool attack in my team. And Salah is probably the most nailed in that Liverpool side as well. So Salah stays in the team. Next up, I've got Gordon. Now, this position was a position that I had been thinking about a little bit as well, from who would be the best player to bring in at a cheaper sort of price point where I wouldn't mind holding on to for 1 game week, maybe 2 game weeks. And so other players that I've sort of considered in this position is Neto and also Morgan Gibbs-White as well. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to change this at the moment. It's still sort of up in the air, but I'm quite happy to go with Gordon for the time being, mostly because they are playing, so Newcastle's playing Crystal Palace, and so as I mentioned with Trippier as well, Gordon is a really good in a really good position to get some of those attacking returns as well. So yeah, I feel like I wouldn't mind holding on to Gordon for maybe a week or 2 game weeks. And as I sort of show you my game week 10 to just show you what this wildcard draft looks like for some of the future game weeks as well, you'll see what I mean with some of the players that I'm thinking about bringing in game week 10 and 11 onwards as well. So for the time being, I'm going to stick with Gordon in my team. Saka was another player that I, unfortunately, I had been toing and froing on whether I keep Saka for their fixture against Chelsea, or do I bring in a Jared Bowen for their fixture against Villa. Now, both of those fixtures are away fixtures. However, I'm not entirely sure which one is the better option. So I'm probably going to need your help here. Like that's one position that I'm a little bit unsure about. However, given that if I want to bring in Matoma later on, and if I want to consider Jared Bowen as well, then I need to have at least Matoma in my team now, or have Saka in my team now. So I've opted to keep Saka in the team at the moment, especially because, Saka, look, I really like having Bukayo Saka in my team. He is on pens when he's not giving them away. But also he's just so attacking as well. So yeah, I feel like I want to keep hold of Saka. My heart says to keep hold of Saka in the team. However, yeah, there is potential for me to bring in Bowen there instead, and bring Saka in later as well, or bring in Matoma ahead of game week 10, where Brighton's fixtures do turn as well. So that is something I'm still considering as well. So I think the most confident, I'm definitely confident with having Maddison in my team at the moment, at least for game week 9. Although I am sort of flagging Maddison as a potential option that I could be taking out in future game weeks as well. Whether that's in game week 10 or further down the line, I'm not too sure yet. But at the moment, given how leaky Fulham are, it just makes sense for me to have Maddison in the team. So while I'm thinking about my game week 9 fixtures, I'm also considering, as you should on a wild card, you should be considering game week 10, 11, 12, at least like 3 to 4, 5 game weeks ahead, without banking in too many transfers as well. So I think, this particular draft gives me a little bit of that flexibility. Now, I have kept Haaland in my team. I did do a couple of drafts where I took Haaland out of my team, and it just didn't feel right, especially with that Brighton fixture that's coming up on the weekend. And so I decided to keep Haaland in my team, and I'm going to be giving him the captaincy armband as well on this occasion. I know Salah is a really good captaincy option there, but I feel a little bit more comfortable giving it to Haaland. He is one of the best FPL options we've got available to us. And so, yeah, it just seems like he's going to be very goal hungry. Rodri is back in the team as well. It just makes a lot of sense to give the captaincy to Haaland on this occasion. So I brought in Watkins. I actually had Darwin Núñez in my team in game week 8, and that was a bit of a game week 8 punt, but also, I wouldn't mind having Darwin Núñez, moving forward as well. But given that Núñez has played twice, 90 minutes as well during the international break for Uruguay, it just doesn't make sense to bring him into the team with the risk of him potentially only coming on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, he could be absolutely menacing and damaging in those 20 to 30 minutes. However, I rather have my player start, especially if I'm only going with a second forward that will be playing. I mean, I've got Archer on the bench there. However, yeah, I rather have two forwards that are going to be getting 90 minutes-ish, going into game week 9, and some of the consecutive game weeks coming up as well. So I decided to go with Watkins. Again, Villa have fantastic fixtures. It makes sense to go with Watkins as well. And so, yeah, I think, I feel like I wouldn't want to miss out on some of those opportunities that Watkins will probably be at the end of as well. On the bench, I decided to go with a 4.9 Souček, and I'm quite happy to bench him for this particular game week. And if I choose to not bring in Bowen in game week 10 or game week 11 with some of the better fixtures that West Ham have as well, I'm quite happy to play Souček as well. So yeah, I did toy a little bit between Souček and Palmer. And just given the fixtures are looking better for West Ham, and Palmer's fixtures, with Chelsea's fixtures looking a little bit tougher at the moment as well, I'd rather have the option to play Souček if I needed to, than sort of, having to bench him like with Palmer I probably would. And I'm sure Palmer will get some attacking returns as well with some of those tougher fixtures. Chelsea as a side overall are definitely, a bit more of a better side. And so as a whole, I'm sure that, Palmer, with him being on pens as well, is likely to get some attacking returns. However, I'd rather have Souček on the bench, where occasionally I'm able to play him. He's currently playing a number 10 role in that West Ham side as well. So from that point of view, I'd rather have Souček, at least for the next 3 to 5 game weeks, before I switch over to Palmer when Chelsea's fixtures turn a little bit later on as well. Now, The last two players that I have on my bench are Archer and Taylor, and I've simply gone with Archer and Taylor to save myself a little bit of money, and so I've got Archer in there. It seems like Sheffield do have a couple of games that come up in later game weeks where it wouldn't be such a bad idea playing Archer. I mean, you could play Archer against Wolves, for example, and there's a chance that he could get some attacking returns. We know he's playing 90 minutes as well, so I'm quite happy to have Archer in the team. And it's the same with Taylor as well. So Burnley, despite being not such a great side at the moment, they have some good fixtures coming up, and so having Taylor on the bench there with the potential opportunity to play him if I have some injuries in my team would make a lot of sense as well. So I'm quite happy with the bench that I've got there. And if there's one thing that I've learned this season is it's how important it is to have playing players on the bench, and yeah, I've learnt that the hard way when I had a -2 Estupinian's points coming off the bench with no other options to play there as well. And you can see some of the transfers that I've made there on the right-hand side, where I've gone from Darwin to Watkins, Mbumo. I know Mbumo's got a really good fixture this game week, and so, but I feel like I want to cut my losses there, and I'm likely not to look back at that transfer as well, so I'm just going to forget about it. But Mbumo to Salah, Baldock to Taylor, Pickford to Areola, Foden to Souček, and I'm quite happy to lose Foden for the time being. Mubama becomes Archer, Son to Gordon. I know a lot of managers are holding on to Son for the upcoming fixture run as well. However, he for me is a massive cash cow at the moment, and so yeah, given that I want to hold on to Trippier as well, I'm quite happy to sacrifice Son. I was a little bit sad about losing Walker, but given that City have slightly tougher fixtures coming up. I mean, by City standards, they're probably not as tough, but they're slightly tougher coming up. I'd rather sort of take the opportunity to lose Walker at the moment and bring in a slightly cheaper defender in Van der Ven. So this is what my wildcard 9 draft is looking like. And as you can see, I've got about 1 mil left in the bank. And so what that basically means is if I look at my game week 10 fixtures, what that basically means is it gives me the option to decide in this game week whether I take out Gordon and jump onto Mitoma. And Mitoma and Brighton are playing Fulham, and so it's a really great fixture to bring in a Brighton attacker. I would of course like to bring in Estupinian, but from my understanding, Estupinian's going to be out of action until at least like 4th of November. So from that point of view, it makes sense for me to look at a Brighton attack. And of course, there's going to be a lot of rotation in that Brighton team as well. Not entirely sure who's going to be playing consecutively. However, yeah, I feel a little bit more confident with having Mitoma in the team. So my two options really this game week are I either take out Gordon, although, Newcastle have a really good fixture in Wolves. So the option is I take out Gordon, bring in Mitoma over here, or I take out Maddison, which I'm not overly enthusiastic about. But I could take out Maddison and bring in Bowen because West Ham are playing Everton at home. So it's a really good fixture there. And of course, I could play Souček over here as well, although I'm not entirely sure who I would end up benching. So in the case of not making a transfer, so let's say I hold on to Maddison for this game week and I hold on to Gordon as well for this game week. If I look at game week 11, I've gone ahead and just made one transfer over here where I've taken out Gordon, where Arsenal are playing Newcastle, and yeah, decided to bring in Mitoma there. So I've got no money left in the bank if I do make that transfer. However, the other option is, and I've got a second transfer to make in game week 11 if I don't use up a transfer in game week 10. The second transfer I can make is to go Maddison to Bowen and play Bowen and Souček ahead of that fixture against Brentford. So I'm not too sure if I will do that or not. I do quite like the idea of going into game week 12 or going into game week 13, which is around the time where the next international break is coming up with two free transfers as well. So from that point of view, I'd rather have that option available to me and open so that I can make some of those moves and make some of those decisions later on down the line. And as you know, with FPL, there could be injuries right around the corner as well. So going back to my game week 9 team, I quite like having the flexibility there. So I think with bringing in Saka now, which I know I'm going to want probably going into game week 10, where Arsenal are playing Sheffield United, it makes a lot of sense for me to at least bring in Mitoma or Saka right now. So I'm not banking in that additional transfer later on. So that's all for now. That's basically what I'm thinking for my game week 9 wildcard. I'm quite happy with the draft at the moment. Like I mentioned, there's a couple of spots there where I could change it up a little bit. I'm really happy to have Cash, Trippier, Gabriel, in my back line. Van de Ven could become Simicast. I'm not too sure. I might even wait it out a couple of game weeks just to see how Liverpool are lining up there as well and not make that decision at the moment. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a 4.4 mil defender in my side and really not have many ways to or many opportunities later on down the line to take him out as well. So, yeah, and I'd rather just have a playing fourth defender there as an opportunity to bring off the bench as well. The other transfers, as I mentioned, Gordon, Maddison, whether I do Mitoma a little bit early or bring in Bowen, or do I skip off Bowen entirely? That's something that I have thought about, and I'm not entirely sure if that's something that I want to do or not. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this wildcard draft. It would be great to hear from you, get some comments, get some feedback from you as well. If you are on a wildcard, what are some of the key players that you're thinking about bringing into your team or you have in your team already? Is there any changes do you see over here that I've got in my team that are probably worthwhile making as well? Are there players that I haven't considered either? It'd be great to get your feedback. So let me know what you think. Leave me a like. Please drop me a subscribe if you like this type of content as well. This is actually the first time I'm not doing a spaces or not doing a live stream. I'm actually just going straight into a video and posting this on YouTube. So yeah, I wanted to keep it short and sharp and fairly simple just to sort of share with you what my final game week 9 wildcard draft is looking like. So yeah, please do like and subscribe if you like this type of content. It's really great to have you as an audience today. Thank you again, and wishing you green arrows for game week 9 and beyond. Thanks again. Take care.